So, I made the decision to follow Christ in December 2010. How this happened is we were just about to break up for Christmas, and actually we had broken up for Christmas, and me and my friends had decided and made this plan that for New Year's Eve we were going to see this firework display. Little did I know that God and my family had made other plans and decided that on that New Year's Eve we were going to a church conference. Of course, at the time I was fuming because what? I wanted to go to this firework display. Long story short, I went to this church. I remember just being so in love with the worship music and all the youth programs that they had. Just like a lot of young people, actually, I had grown up in the church, but I didn't have a relationship with God myself. I think for me, I hadn't found the right place which worked for me until I went to this place for a church conference, and I fell in love with the music. One worship song later, I find myself just crying on the floor, weeping, and that's when I had an encounter with my first encounter actually with the Holy Spirit. I think when I first got saved, I had this idea that, okay, now I'm saved. Life is just going to be perfect and there's just going to be no hardships. It's all hunky-dory from here on, like to the end. But what I've come to realize is being a Christian isn't all smooth sailing. In terms of just because we're Christians doesn't mean we're not going to go through hardships and problems. But the amazing thing about being a Christian through all of this is that we are guaranteed, the Holy Spirit who is there as our help and our guide and to just teach us in all of these things. I think growing up, I've always had this idea of, God being a genie. I just say I want this and snap my fingers and it's here. But sometimes it's not like that. One thing that's been ministering to me actually is just about what it really means to be a Christian and to live a life of surrender, or in other words, a sacrificial life.
He humbled himself and became vulnerable, choosing to be revealed as a man, and was obedient. He was a perfect example, even in his death, a criminal's death by crucifixion. He humbled himself, humility, and became vulnerable, vulnerability, choosing to be revealed as a man, and was obedient, obedience. I gave my life to Christ when I was 15 years old, after I had listened to a word that was being preached by the pastor where he talked about what is your final destination. Is it hell? Is it heaven? And this picture of hell was painted so clear that I walked up and I gave my life to Christ. But what followed was a series of events and a lifestyle in which I did not have a personal relationship. Meaning day in, day out, I didn't pursue, I didn't seek. I thought that maybe just by saying the Lord's Prayer that my life would change. Now, there's nothing wrong in giving your life to Christ in that way, and I encourage it. But what God revealed to me when I was 23 years of age was that He was seeking a personal relationship. Now, when I was 23, after having gone through a series of events and life-changing events, God showered me in His love. And I began to truly understand what it meant when it spoke about how He wants to fellowship with us, how He loves us. And since then, my life has never been the same. So now when I read this text, when I see this example of Christ, I realize that He humbled Himself for me.